This is your podcast show. Yes, Super's real savage talk. Relationships. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about love. We're talking about trust. We're talking about your feelings, my feelings, and everything above. Yeah. At 7 o'clock we talk about what makes love. What makes people just love one another. Yes, it's your girl Super Savage. The podcast, Super Real Savage Talks. In love, with your love, I'll teach you how to be a boss. With my Super Real Savage Talk, man, always around with the best advice. Don't never think twice. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening to me. One thing about this podcast, the listeners, they are the best. They are the best. They are the best I ever had. Tune in. What's up? Super Savage, Super Real Savage Talk. It's your girl, Super Savage. What's going on, guys? We are on the real talk tonight, guys. I'm talking about some real critical stuff that, you know, we're hitting points and we're talking about things that have never really been discussed in depth. So let's give it up for a little bit of change tonight, because we're talking about being bisexual parents. So I'm going to give you some time to get your, get your food in front of you, or if you're cooking, get your, set your timer and stuff, because, we're going to be hitting some serious stuff today. I'm your host, Super Savage, and let's go ahead and get this thing going. There are many Americans right now that are just, being a parent in general is stressful, because there's no manual on being a parent. You know what I mean? There's no manual, so you have to basically just trial and error, or sometimes take a village to raise a child. Maybe you might have to get some advice or some parenting advice from your loved ones or friends, but how do you face being a bisexual? How do you explain that to your kids? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Making hard decisions, and what decisions are basically needing to be made. Science Daily, with the science news, they say many parents struggle for years to adjust after learning a child's sexual orientation. So not only are we talking about being a parent to a regular child, but they're bisexual, but the bisexual parents, their parents, which would be the grandparents. So we're hitting it on all aspects. George Washington University has a science news. And 2 years after the child becomes a lesbian or gay or bisexual, LGBT, many parents still say it's not monetary or very hard for them to adjust to the news, according to the new study. 2 years after their child became a lesbian, those kind of responses are something that you have to sit down and just have a understanding with. It's not a bad thing, or if you're religious, then you may have some difficulties accepting things, but the majority of today's public and Americans we're very acceptive to this. But they even approved gay marriages. So me personally, I don't really see anything wrong with um, lesbianism or bisexual marriages, because who you can't put love on, I mean gender on love. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it don't necessarily have to be a man and a woman to raise a child, because even they can fail at that. And so I don't think it has to be a certain gender. We don't want to cast out anybody. We're not God. We just want to raise a healthy child. And in this instance, if the child becomes who they become, then that's who they want to become, and we have to support that decision. Now, the results of the poll are important because previous studies suggest that parents who have trouble adjusting are more likely to disapprove or adopt a negative behavior that can, in turn, put LGBT youth at risk. So, surprisingly, we found that the parents who knew about their child's sexual orientation for 2 years struggled as much as parents who had recently learned the news. Mr. David Harbour, PhD, MPH, associated with Professor of Prevention and Community Health at George Washington University, basically says that 2 years is a very long time in the life of a child who is faced with this stress of disapproving and rejecting of parenthood. The study is one of the first largest surveys for parents themselves, and Hubert said that in addition that this includes the data from the parents that are really studied. So what they did was they took some LGBs and their parents, and they did this study where some parents got to find out right then and there. Girl, a bug just landed on me. Y'all better quit laughing at me. This is serious shit up here, honey. Because one thing about it, I beat that bug up and keep on talking. Y'all won't even know. Y'all just hear this in the background. What's going on? Okay, so what they did was some parents had to. They got to learn right then and there that their child orientation was, and then some of them knew previous before. So you know what I'm saying? To make the study show equally, it's like they both found out at the same time, but they did it. Some knew 2 years prior to then, and some just knew just then. But the reactions were the same. Like I said, when it comes to disapproving and approving anything, that's God's choice. We are supposed to love and respect and honor their neighbor. That includes your kids as well. I can think of a lot of other things that can be going on with your child than their sexuality. Drugs, alcohol, prostitution, gangs, prison, mass murders, shootings, depression, suicidal. So being LGBT, I would take that over anything that trumps that. Now, if you are a parent, we talked about parents that are not bisexual. Now let's talk about bisexual parents. If you are bisexual parents, that means you are the same sex parents. How do you explain to your kids that you adopt or that you have at a surrogate or however you have them, how would you explain to them that, hey, this is the relationship that you're going to be brought up around? Of course they're going to be accustomed to it, but there's not going to be a mom and a dad. There's going to be a dad, a dad or a daddy or a mom. And so, and a lot of parents these days, they're very big on adoption. Bisexual couples are, they want to be good with the community. well, we'll be right back after this. I have to take a short break, okay? Tune into my show. Give you the best advice about the relationships that you care about the most. Super savage, wants to know how your day are going and how your weekend and your nights are flowing. You can always talk and listen to me. I'll keep secrets, I won't tell nobody. Sit on my couch in my podcast lounge, and I pull up a chair and sit and we can conversate. Thank you. This is Super Savage and the real, and we're speaking on the Savage, real Savage Talk. Thank you guys. I want to say I apologize for that. I had one of my clients come over, and they came over unannounced. Sometimes I do give advice, and sometimes people need me without calling or making an appointment like they were supposed to. So back to what we were saying. We were talking about being bisexual parents. So we've talked about parents who are not bisexual, but their kids are, and now we're talking about bisexual parents and their kids are not. So we were talking about how to explain it. Now parents, now when it comes down to that, like I was saying, you have to understand that if you adopt or have them from the womb, then that should be easily, they're going to be accustomed to growing up around you. A child adapts very well, to the mother form or the father form, but you're still going to need to do some explaining. So let's get down to that. Now, growing up with gay parents, according to www.nlm, shouldn't be a big deal. So, like a very large body of social science students, they did like a research paper on this, and it says infants and toddlers prefer their mothers to their fathers when they seek solace of relief from hunger, fear, sickness, and such and such. And mothers tend to be more soothing. Mothers are more responsive and distinctive cries of infants. They're, but basically what they're saying in this is, if you're going to be a lesbian, this is the pros and cons to that, because the mother is the more, the one that the child is adapted to at birth. Okay, so they are also better than fathers as far as detecting a child's emotion. A mother is, by looking at their faces and their postures and gestures. Children who were deprived of medical or maternal care during its feeding periods in their early lives, they lack feelings and enter superficial relationships. They develop into adulthood. So the clinical experience would suggest that the motherlessness, while not studied as the fatherlessness, would be a greater danger to the child. Okay, fathers also excel when it comes to providing discipline and play with children and their children to embrace their lives. Fathers provide essential roles and models for boys. A father is also present in the home to protect the child and strengthen his ability to feel safe. So there are pros and cons to being, either a homophobe or a lesbian. On 90bisexualclub.com, that is a site that you can look for bisexual fun, and if you're a couple, and you can meet mature bisexuals near you at maturebi.com. Those are just a few websites for the bisexual community. So we're going to go with Mr. HopkinsMed.org for tips for parents of the LGBTQ youth. And this is a good website for different things of vaccines, testing, coronavirus, and email alerts as well for just general health. And all parents want what's best for their kids, but providing support isn't always easy. So this, especially for parents of a gay or lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or questioning child. So in these many ways, you want to be able to care and be able to answer them whenever they need, or they want to be able to express things to you. So let them know that they are loved. For many LGBTQs, the youth, breaking the news to mom and dad is the scariest part of the coming out. Time and time again, we have seen this, and we have. So Dr. Fields explains that that the anchor and the key is acceptance. In fact, the research shows that an adolescent of an LGBTQ supported by a family would be more than happy. They would be healthy adults as well. So they're not going to turn out even different. Encourage dialogue. As you know, well as everybody knows, we have to be able to build trust and start small. Be curious about their life, but don't be overcrowding them. Be interested in their school, but don't let it be like it's pulling teeth. Okay, with them, don't force it. How to get them to talk? Always, you know, you can rely on children to exchange through text messaging or phone. When it comes to talking in face to face, be less direct. Okay, be less direct. Learn the facts about the gay community. When we speak with our parents, we hear a lot of misconception about sexual orientation. We got to, empower them, let them know that they're not, going to be shunned or pawned off, that you're going to have their back. Stay involved with their school, okay? Advocate for gay, straight alliances. Maintain frequent contact with the teachers. Push for more inclusive sex education. Above all, do not hesitate to speak up. Look out for signs of bullying. Most of the time when these kids are coming out, they are being singled out, and they're being mistreated. So make sure that you stay up on that as well. You want to watch for a behavior change, watch for discipline, discipline or behavioral problems, declining in grades, unexplained absences, sudden shifts in one friend to the next, engaging in risk behavior, and then you need to take time to approach the bench and get things back in order. When it comes down to it, it's just all about support. Providing support can be challenging at times. But you have to remember that your child is having the most difficult time. in struggling to reach out for help. So get close to their school counselor or a family member. Let them know that if they're having trouble, they're not alone. They can get through this. Ensure that the form of healthy relationships. Basically, Make sure your child is okay in developing relationships with boys and girls. Don't just single out one sex because they are LGBTQ. Stay on top of social media, because they can also be discouraging being open to sexual orientation and gender identity as well. More importantly, understand that kids turn to these apps when they don't feel like they have anyone to talk to. So make sure that you're there and available to speak and answer questions for your kids. Now, we do have some additional resources. Parents, Family, Friends of Lesbian and Gays, PLAG, is a wonderful, wonderful site. It's where Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, LGBT Youth, and LGBT resources at Johns Hopkins Medicine. You can request an appointment. In Maryland is 410-955-5000. International is 410-502-7683. And if you're out of Maryland, it's 855-695-4872. Find a doctor. Make sure everything is correct with you, because there comes sexual risk, high risk, when you make these decisions. I'm your host, Super Savage. This is Super Real Savage Talk, and once again, stay safe, stay blessed, and have a wonderful night. Yeah. You know what time it is. It's time for your relationship advice. It's time to listen. It's time to get some advice about your situations as you're working at your house and at your wherever you want it to be. I can give advice to you. This is Super Savage, Super Real Savage Talk Podcast. Come in at 7, sometimes at 8 o'clock. I will have the hottest interviews, have the hottest Q&As, have the hottest birthday celebrate, have the hottest parties, have a heart to heart when you're feeling lonely. I'm Super Savage, the podcast with a lot of heart, Super Real Savage Talk. Yeah, don't ever underestimate